It's been featured on Bon Appetit, Cooking Light, the ABC News. This cookie dough dip is more famous than I am, probably. If you love chocolate, I've got you covered. This dessert is so delicious that when you find out it's secretly healthy, you're gonna be like, what the fudge? Let's get to it. Today we are making healthy cookie dough dip with a secret ingredient, and the secret ingredient is chickpeas. And I know that sounds crazy, but just trust me, it's delicious. People who are not used to healthy desserts eat this up like it's regular cookie dough because it actually tastes like regular cookie dough. It's crazy. I use garbanzo beans in so many of my recipes. They're one of my favorite beans to work with. They're very neutral. The texture is thick, so it thickens recipes really easily. It binds recipes together. It's a great vegan ingredient to have on hand in recipes. I came up with the cookie dough dip because everybody was making black bean brownies and I wanted to be different. So I was like, I'm gonna make white bean blondies. I tried it a few different ways, and the final way, when it actually tasted good, I was just eating the batter because who doesn't eat raw cookie dough batter? And I was like, this actually tastes really good. My mom was actually having a party that day and they all went crazy for it. Like, they didn't just like it, they were all asking for the recipe for this cookie dough dip, and they had no idea what was in it. So we're gonna start by draining the can of chickpeas. And you have to drain them really well, and then rinse them really well, and that just gets rid of any chickpea taste. You can't taste the chickpeas at all in here once they're blended with all the other ingredients. I first started running when I went away to college, around the same time that I was getting healthier in general and eating healthier, and I really loved it. It was something that I looked forward to every day. And I didn't worry about timing or do I have to go today if I went yesterday. I didn't do races. I just ran because I loved being outdoors. I loved thinking everything through, and it gave you time to think. I lived in a small, cramped dorm, and so running was just an escape from that. It's such a stress release. Just being outside in nature, and sometimes it's just nice to get away from it all. It's nice to get outdoors, out of your apartment, where everything is so small and constricting. I just love the open air. I'm outside as much as possible, whether it's running or walking, standing there and taking in nature. I love starting my day going outside and being active. It just wakes you up, it gives you so much energy being out in the outdoors. I don't understand how people can run at 7 o'clock at night, because then you go home and you want to go to sleep. I want runner's high all day. I love going out first thing in the morning. It wakes you up, honestly, more than coffee does. So these are nice and drained, and now I'm gonna put them into the food processor here. I would absolutely recommend a food processor. It is the most used kitchen gadget in my entire kitchen. I recommend, if readers have to use the blender method, that they do it in batches, because if you think about a blender, everything goes in and then only the bottom really blends unless you have like some kind of tamper that you have to keep scraping it down. Whereas a food processor, everything evenly disperses. And so when I tried it in the blender, you got like these big pieces of chickpea in there, like you got some chunky pieces, you didn't want that. But I do put the disclaimer on the recipe that says, it will be better if you have a food processor. If you don't, you can do it, and if you like it, that's great, but if you don't like it, don't give up on the recipe. Now I'm going to add some peanut butter, and if you add peanut butter, it will make it taste a little bit like peanut butter cookie dough, which peanut butter and cookie dough and chocolate are pretty much my favorite things, so how could that be bad? But if you don't want the peanut butter taste, or even if you're allergic to nuts, you can use coconut butter, you can use sunflower butter, you can use almond butter. You use a 1/4 cup in this, and I mean, it's a forgiving recipe. If you add too much, then it's gonna taste more like peanut butter. You can't go wrong. I'm going to add a little bit of salt here. Salt brings out the sweetness. And I'm also going to add a little bit of baking soda. I actually put baking soda in non-baked cookie recipes, sometimes just for the flavor. People have actually left comments on my site saying, you do not know what you're doing, you're putting baking soda in no-bake recipes. Actually, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's for the flavor, and it does give it a little bit of a taste. I tell people if they don't want to put it in, don't put it in, and see what the difference is. I actually really like putting it in there. When I started running in college, I really loved it. But then over the years, it became a chore. I would watch the time, I would watch how fast I went, and it all became a numbers game. And I kept running over the years. And then I moved to Texas, where it's really hot, and I started getting more competitive with myself. You know, I ran 5 miles yesterday. I can't do 4 today. Even though I'm tired and my legs hurt, I have to do at least 5 because I have to keep up with myself. I can't do less than I know I'm capable of doing. I'm a very competitive person, And if I get into a competition with someone, even if it's myself, I can't back down from that. I have to win at all costs. It became an obsession, really. I had to run every other day, rain or shine. I would use the treadmill if it was raining, or I'd go out if it was raining. I'd go out in the snow. I'd go out when I was tired. I'd go out when I didn't feel well. Finally, I just burned out. So now we're gonna add some sweetener. You can add any sweetener of choice, really, even liquid sweeteners, so like maple syrup, agave. You can add unrefined sugar. This isn't my healthiest dessert, but there's a lot less sugar than normal cookie dough dip, and there's also not the cream cheese that's in normal cookie dough dip or the butter that's in normal cookie dough dip. And you can actually customize the amount of sugar that you want to use depending on your specific tastes. Some people like a lot of sugar, some people like just 1 or 2 tablespoons in the entire recipe. It's really versatile. If you're serving it at a party, I would add more just because people are used to cookie dough that has more sweetness to it, but it's still going to be less than if it were actual regular Toll House cookie dough. Now I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of rolled oats. If you want to make it grain-free, you can use almond flour. You can add flax meal. You just add a few tablespoons, so I'm not going to fill this up all the way. I'm just going to add a few tablespoons. And then once we blend it up, if it's not thick enough, then you can just add a little bit more. And now we're going to add a little bit of pure vanilla extract. So I'm just going to add 2 teaspoons here of pure vanilla extract, just for a little bit of a flavor boost. Make sure that you use pure vanilla extract, not imitation vanilla, because the imitation will give it an artificial taste that you don't want. And now comes the fun part. I thought maybe I'd never go back to running again because I had learned to hate running. And I didn't run for 6 months at all. But one day, I felt something that I hadn't felt since years before. I felt a desire to run, and I've been running ever since. But I don't have a watch, I don't have a Garmin, I don't know how far I go. I believe being healthy is all about balance. To me, exercise isn't about numbers anymore. It's not about how many calories I've burned or how long I've gone. It's not about how far I've gone, how many miles I've done. I don't want to feel competitive when I run. I do that for me. It's fun. I know I'm not the fastest runner out there, and that's okay with me. Running for me is about releasing adrenaline and feeling good. And if I'm slower one day than I was the day before, that's okay. I still feel good that I got out there and got some sunshine and exercised. Sometimes life gets busy and I don't go out for a week or 2. Sometimes it gets really cold or really hot and I don't want to go out. Sometimes I want to go out 3 days in a row. I really just listen to myself, and in that way, running has become fun again. Okay, this looks exactly like real cookie dough. If you didn't know that there were chickpeas in here, you would have absolutely no idea that this wasn't just real cookie dough. The cookie dough dip was actually, I think, the recipe that enabled me to become a food blogger full-time. And that was the first recipe of mine to go viral on Pinterest. And I was getting all these hits from Pinterest and I was like, what is this? What is going on? I'd already gotten, I think, 20,000 repins from the cookie dough dip before I'd even ever put it on Pinterest myself. There's one thing missing. Do you know what's missing? The chocolate chips are missing. That's the most important part, so let's add those in. You don't have to measure these, like just throw in what you think sounds good. I just threw in a few handfuls. Now we want to stir the chocolate chips in. It looks exactly like cookie dough, but does it taste exactly like cookie dough? Oh yeah, that tastes exactly like cookie dough. Now it's time to serve it. My favorite thing to serve the cookie dough dip with is probably graham crackers. You can also use ginger snaps. I know a lot of people like to slice a banana in half and put some cookie dough dip in the middle and then put the other half of the banana on, and they'll eat it for breakfast. It has rolled oats, it has chickpeas, it's high in protein, so it can actually be a healthy breakfast, especially if you're putting it with bananas, or you can dip strawberries into it. I know some people put it on their pancakes. All right, and here it is. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna throw a few more chocolate chips on top because you can never have too much chocolate. And there it is, healthy cookie dough dip. You would never know that it's made with chickpeas. It tastes just like the real thing. And if you don't believe me, then try it for yourself. Try it on all your friends and see if they can tell. They're gonna love it.